Hey, welcome to my first official episode of my unnamed podcast. I'm sure I'm coming up with something pithy later on to start putting on that, but until then, I'm just calling it the Unnamed Podcast. Uh, this episode's going to be mostly housekeeping and whatnot. A couple things we want to discuss. The format is either going to be just me talking, getting you up to date on the market and what's going on. I want to be putting these things out weekly. I was originally planning on putting them out on Thursday, but most of my things I have scheduled, including interviews and some online Zoom conferences that I'm sitting there listening to, getting more information about the market, are coming out on Thursday. So what I'll probably be doing is recording these things Thursday afternoon, hopefully dropping them Thursday night so you can review them on Friday. The things I got going on right now is I got Jim Hostler from High Tech Lending. He is going to be our first interview. I'm going to be interviewing him on Wednesday, and so hopefully you'll be seeing those things Thursday night. He's an agent that I've worked with before. He handles mostly buy sell, but lately he has moved into the reverse mortgage market. We also attended a certification together for a really interesting designation. It's a designated divorce specialist. The various aspects and interesting things that can come up during a divorce that people do not think about, your divorce attorneys don't think about. Things along the lines of, we're selling the house. How do we equally split the proceeds? What happens if one person is keeping the house but both people have to stay on the loan for a while? Is the person who's keeping the house, the staying partner, actually going to be able to afford to refinance the leaving partner out of the house? Weird things like insurance. Who's going to stay on the insurance? Do you know to turn the insurance over? So we went through this class together, and it was really, really exciting. We both got designated in it. So we might touch on that a little bit. But mostly I want to talk to him about the reverse mortgage for purchase and how to use the equity in your home that you are buying to both provide you with supplemental income or get to the point where you're not actually making a house payment at all. And we'll go into great detail on that. Mostly I want to discuss is the market reviews. Now, this is going to be, I'm going to wind up talking jargon. All right, I recognize that. I've been role-playing this over my head going, okay, how do I say this? How do I say that? And I realized I'm not quite at the point where I'm bringing out the sock puppets, but I'm definitely going to have to draw some stuff. So I'm going to have to change the screen here and call up so you can see what I'm looking at on my screen. So give me just a second while I do that. Okay, so this is my dashboard on the MLS system that the real estate agents use here. And I moved some widgets around this, so this is my personalized screen, and I use this to track what's going on with the market on a daily occasion. Down here on the bottom left-hand side, you'll see this hot sheet for property type of residential. What I have here is this shows us what categories properties have moved into within a certain time period. All right, we can go 24 hours all the way up to 1 week. I like tracking it on a weekly because I get more of a vibe going on that way. All right, up here we have the average sold days on market for residential, and over here we have what's called an absorption rate. Just so you know, an absorption rate of under 2 months worth of absorption means that we are in a seller's market. All right. A normal market should have 2 months, which means if nobody put another property on the MLS, right, and the houses kept coming off as normal, then it would take 2 months for all the properties to disappear. Right now we're at just above 1 month. We're at 1.06. But over here on the left is what I really want to talk about. This is a hot sheet. This lets us know that within the last week, 2,249 properties have hit the market. All right. Of those properties that are on the market, we've had 2,160 listings close. All right. Some of these properties, they go into pending. Some of them go to UCB, and we'll have a conversation about that later. All right. This is not the total extent of what's going on. All right. What you really need to do on something like that is you need to go to the quick search. All right. And you can just sit there and say, hey, we have, at this point, updated 4,906 properties on the market for sale that do not have a contract on them. Now, we also have, in the coming soon category, all right, not going to show me the number. I'll have to look up here. 672 houses are going to be coming on the market. Now, houses do not necessarily go through coming soon before they go to active. All right. And then we can sit there and go, how many are currently pending? These are houses that are under contract. All right. We have 7,435. All right. So I use a spreadsheet, and I started the spreadsheet back on the 16th of March, 2020. I had a house under contract. We were getting close to having the appraisal finished on it. We weren't sure if it was going to appraise, so I was getting ready to negotiate with the other side if it did not appraise for what I wanted. And that happened to be St. Patrick's Day weekend. And COVID was just becoming a big thing. They were talking about shutting down the bars. You might remember St. Patrick's Day. Do you go out to party? Do you not? And that's when things started getting a little weird. At that moment, people started dropping out of their listings. People took their houses off the market, but in a lot of cases, people canceled the contracts that they had. They for whatever reason, they decided they did not want to buy a house in that market. And you can see how property started going up. Everything in this column right here in black is an increase in active housing. Now, I was doing this every day. So you'll see on the weekends and Sundays and Mondays, you'd see houses come off. So there'd be less houses on. But then during the weekdays, houses would come back. Houses come off, houses go back. And it got to this point where I just started tracking it on every Wednesdays because I noticed Wednesday was the best time to really realize what just happened the prior week. Most houses come in on Thursdays. They'd come in on Thursdays and Fridays, so they'd be available for the weekend. And then houses would come off Sundays and Mondays and sometimes into Tuesdays. So Wednesday really seemed to be the best day for me to start tracking. So at a certain point, I just started tracking every week. And I created this little chart, and if the number's red, that means there's less houses on the market than there were the week before. And you can see at a certain point, it just goes red. We have a little step up here in August as people, kids start getting out of school, people start looking at moving. All right. And then we go in October, and then everybody cuts off because, hey, why put the house on the market over the holidays? And then we just hemorrhage. We were expecting to see houses come back on the market in beginning of January, but the surge of buyers that also came in saying, new year, let's go find ourselves a new house, met and exceeded the houses that were coming on. So we've been losing properties off the MLS. They've been being sold all the way down to when I ran this thing yesterday at 4,733. When I started this chart in March, we were at 10,000. Now we're at 4. And you can see here pretty much where we've gone over the last year. All right. So this is just something that I track, and this is the kind of report I'm going to be giving you guys every time I do a podcast. It's going to be, hey, this is what I'm seeing in the numbers right now. This is what I'm looking. Are we still buyer? Are we still seller? Sort of help you, understand what you're going to be getting into. All right. Now, a lot of these numbers interact what I call the churn. Please forgive my kindergarten drawing. I'm not very good at this, and I'm even worse with a stylus on the screen. All right. But over here, this is the coming soon houses. Houses do not have to be listed as coming soon. They can go straight into active, right? Then you have active houses. These are the houses that people can go and look at and decide they want to buy and write an offer on. If an offer is accepted, it can go one of 3 directions. All right. It can go straight to pending. Right? They don't want to market the house anymore. We have a contract. We're happy. It can go to UCB, which is under contract but looking for backups. The seller either wants a second offer on the table that they can fall back on in case the first one falls out. The agent might not be too comfortable with the buyer's position. Maybe they're not qualified and they took the offer anyways. Maybe there's a concern about what's going to come up with the inspection. Maybe there's a concern about what's going to come up with the appraisal. All right. The other one is buyer contingency, where the buyer is under contract, but they have to sell their own house to qualify for the loan for their new house. So you will see buyer contingency come up. So they're also looking for a backup. Now, this little green circle that I ran around these things, I wanted to point out because houses in all three categories is going to show up on Zillow, homes.com, any of those third-party sites that you might go to. And this is frustrating for agents because your buyer will come to you and say, hey, I found this great house. And you'll look at it and go, that house is actually under contract. They're just looking for backup offers. All right. So this is why most agents really encourage you, stay off of Zillow. The house that you're looking at might not be there. They used to be really, really bad at leaving houses active well past the date that they'd actually sell. They've gotten a lot better at that. But if you really, really want the most accurate information, listen to your agent. Look at what your agent's list is going. If you're not seeing what you think you should be seeing, ask the agent to look at the search, and maybe there's some changes. All right. So that little editorial aside, active houses go to pending. Sometimes they fall out of pending and they go back to being active. And you'll see something called back on market. All right. Fell out because of inspection, fell out because of the appraisal, fell out because the buyer wasn't in a position to buy at the end of the day. But what everybody hopes at the end of the day is we wind over here to close. So with that screen and everything done, as in the future, as I go through, I'm going to be quoting you numbers. I'm going to be quoting you, this is how many active we have. All right. This is a change from last week. All right. And hopefully this will be useful to you guys. Okay. Hopefully that was coherent. So one of the other things I'm doing here is I'm listening to a lot of Zoom call meetings, a lot of vendors, other organizations will have professionals come on, give detailed conversations about the state of the market. Today I was listening to a guy by the name of Barry Habib. He was hosted by Finance of America for their lenders. One of their lenders sent me a link, said, Ray, you might be interested in watching this. And so I'm sitting there listening to this guy talk about the future of the market and what he's seeing in the next 1 to 2 years. Interest rates are very low. They're an anomaly. They're so low. He wanted to call that out. There's things that are impacting on that on various levels. Big thing we got going on right now is we have the Fed is keeping their lending rate at zero, and that impacts everything up going on that. They're still buying mortgage-backed securities, which is one of those little funding mechanisms that you really need to start watching the people who know stuff about that to have them explain it to you. It's the packaged mortgages from people who buy houses. They turn it around, they resell it to investors, right? This frees up a lot more capital to lend out to new buyers, so we don't get to the point where there's no money out there to lend. Fed's still buying those. They're taking them off the table. That gives loan originators a place to get rid of their loans and get money back so they can lend it back out. The big things that were driving, that he said was driving the lack of inventory you have right now is we have a new cohort of buyers who are just hitting the market in droves. And no, it's not California. All right. It is millennials. The average household and first-time home buyer age is 33 years old. There is a mini boomlet that is starting this year of millennials turning 33. Happy birthday, guys. Welcome to the suck. And they are looking at buying their first home. So over the course of the next few years and whatnot, we've added 8 million more households, all right, nationwide, all right? But we've only we've built 3 million fewer homes than traditionally, all right? This is because of the downturn. Builders took a serious hit during the COVID back in April and whatnot. They stopped building. They stopped looking at building new houses. And that just puts us more into the deficit when it comes to house to household ratio. Right? These are the things that are driving up costs right now. This is what's driving up the prices of homes. The fact that we have more people looking for homes and we have interest rates that mean more people are available to purchase homes for the first time. So we're not looking at seeing a foreclosure surge coming in like we did back in 06 and 07 and 08, where people were upside down and the banks weren't able to make the payments because of the recession, and so they were losing their houses. And that's mostly just for the fact that a person who owns a house right now owes less on their house than their house is worth. So before the house goes into foreclosure and the bank takes it, they're able to either refinance out at better terms, or they're able to sell their house, take the money, and go into a rental. All right, but either way, that means the bank doesn't get it. If the bank doesn't get it, that means your foreclosures, which was such a big topic of conversation back in 8, 9, 10, is just not going to be on the board, and we're not expecting it to come in anytime soon. Looking down at my notes here. All right, ever since 2017, just to reiterate this, household growth, household formation has exceeded what the builders are able to build. All right, and even though we have a lot of building going on here, specifically in Arizona, there are things that are holding builders back. Acquisition of land, building costs. All right, the price of wood has gone up 3 times. Right, from what it used to be. So houses are going to be more expensive because they're still mostly made out of wood. Labor is huge. You can't find a guy who knows what side of a hammer to hold on to and how to drive a nail straight. This means that builders are not able to build as fast as they want to, and they have to pay more for the labor. Right, so I don't see this getting rectified anytime soon. Builders are definitely. I personally think they're still a little scared from what happened to them. There was a lot of builders who just went out of business overnight. I know a personal story of a young lady that I was working with. She was getting her house all ready to go. She gave her final notice on her apartment. She was ready to move in. She came down to work. She, in a U-Haul truck, all of her life is in a U-Haul truck. She was going to sign at the office that day, get her keys that afternoon, drive to her brand new house, and start unpacking. And she came into the office, and there was a voicemail from the escrow officer asking her to come upstairs and talk to her. All right. She walked upstairs, came back crying because the builder had went out of business that night. All right. And the escrow was told to freeze all the accounts and everything. And that girl was homeless. All right. We found a place for her to stay. I mean, we got her in a hotel and everything, got everything straightened out. But that's what was happening back there during the crash. And a lot of those builders out there today remember those days. So they're really trying not to get too over their skis by getting overly speculative, just in case something weird happens. So, once bitten, twice shy when it comes to that. So that's pretty much all I got to say. Hopefully I'll get better at this, and hopefully I'll get much smoother. All the podcasters that I've ever listened to and whatnot, when people ask me, hey, how do you get started? They say basically turn on a screen and start talking. So that's what I've been doing. So if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments, or you can get a hold of me directly at Star Realty. My email address is ray@centralphoenixhome.com. Comments would probably be easier to get along because everybody screws up. ray@centralphoenixhome.com. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, happy to have a phone call with you about what's going on in the world. If you're interested in selling, can help you out. If you're interested in buying, can help you out. If you are not sure what's going on in your life and just want to chat, I will talk your ear off. Don't believe me? Ask anybody who knows me. You guys have a great day.